What's up YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel, and today I have an updated Battlin Boxer deck profile for you guys. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, wait, why would you want to do an update on this deck? Truth be told, the Battlin Boxer deck can actually do quite a bit, funny enough. And I decided to do a complete 180 on this deck and give it a bit of a revamp. Because truth be told, with the last build, the Bamboo Sword cards and also the Immortal Phoenix Gear Free that I had in the deck really ended up just being bricks. So I just took them out and I completely replaced them with a few new additions to the whole deck. The extra deck is about the same as before, but I decided to take a few cards out and throw in a couple of new ones, and the side deck not a complete 180, but a complete revamp, if you will. So hopefully you guys are ready for this video. If you guys are and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Follow me on all of my social media, including my Instagram, because you guys know I always post the photos of the deck list on my Instagram. So make sure you guys follow me there. Links will be in the description. Excuse me, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. Now, as I said, I did a complete 180, and instead of using the Immortal Phoenix Gear Free, I replaced it with 2 copies of Valkyrian Knight. This card is actually pretty good in this deck. So if you guys have never seen this card before, it's a 4-star Fire Warrior, which is basically the same as the Battlin Boxers, with 1900 attack, 1200 defense, and the effect reads monsters your opponent controls cannot target face-up warrior-type monsters for attacks except this card. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can banish you can banish one warrior and this card from your grave, target a level 5 or higher warrior in your grave, and special summon that target. The thing is that there aren't any monsters that are above level 5 that are above level 4 at all. But what's cool about this is that this is sort of like your Magician's Valkyria, but for warriors. So it's sort of like a floodgate, if you will, for the deck, which is really cool. And what's even more cool is that is that you can actually bring this back from your graveyard off of the effects of the Ferocious Flame Swordsman, which I will talk about once we get into the extra deck. So it's a nice way to establish board presence just off of this one card alone, which is really cool. But again, if I were to have a fire monster that was level 5 or higher, like a fire warrior that was like level 5 or higher, what would it be? Ability, attribute. Let's see what kind of cards I could add. 5. We'll say 5. Excuse me. Go to all, and now we search. And it looks like there aren't any at all. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, so cards such as Warrior 5-star warriors, cards like Jack's Knight would probably be a good prime example of this card being summoned. But again, for the most part, you're just summoning a bunch of rank 4s, basically. But still, Valkyrian Knight, 2 copies, it's a floodgate. Now we will move on into the Battlin boxes, and the Battlin boxes are basically the same as last time. So first up, we have 3 copies of Glassjaw. This card is actually kind of an interesting one. So the effect of Glassjaw reads: when this card is targeted for an attack, destroy this card. When this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can target a Battlin box in your grave, except this card, add that target to your hand. So it's sort of like a way to re-establish card advantage over your opponent. So one of the main cards that you're gonna want to add from your grave to your hand off of Glassjaw is none other than Battlin Boxer Switch Hitter. That way, when your turn comes, you can then normal summon the Switch Hitter, activate its effect, resummon Glassjaw, overlay them into a number 79 Battlin Boxer Nova Kaiser, and you can just combo off from there, which is actually pretty fucking crazy. And speaking of Switch Hitter, we got 3 copies of the aforementioned Switch Hitter. This is basically a Monster Reborn for the Battlin Boxers upon being normal summon. So it's a great way to it's a great way to get board presence over your opponent. So it would be normal again as I said before, it would be normal summon the Switch Hitter, special summon the Glassjaw off of Switch Hitter's effect, overlay into a rank 4, and you can just combo off from there, which is pretty cool. Then of course we got 3 copies of Battlin Boxer Spar. This is basically your Cyber Dragon for the whole deck. The only problem is that you're locked out. You're completely locked out of your battle phase. So if you do special summon him, you're not allowed to conduct your battle phase, which is a bit unfortunate. But it can only work. But if you're going first, that won't matter, because if you do open with the Spar, you can and you go, let's say, I'll say, well, what would be a good like combo example? So one prime example would be normal summon the Battlin Boxer Headgear, activate its effect, Foolish Burial the Glassjaw, special summon the Spar, especially if you're going first. Special summon the Fire Flint Lady. The Fire Flint Lady, trigger its effect, send it to your graveyard. Special summon another one of your Battlin Boxer dudes, which could be, a second Spar, a second Headgear, whatever you have in your hand. Overlay them into a number 105 Battlin Boxer Star Cestus. Set and pass turn. Your opponent draws, pulls off their plays. They pass. Your turn comes, and you top deck, let's say, Ringon Magic Numeron Force. You activate the Numeron Force, and it basically becomes a Dark Ruler no more for the whole board, which is absolutely nuts. But another way you can also go is as I said, is again normal summon the Battlin Boxer Headgear, send Glassjaw to your grave, special summon Spar, activate Battlin Boxing Spirits, mill the top card of your deck, special summon Glassjaw, and then you can go into Battlin Boxer Star Cestus that way as well, which is pretty cool. Which is a nice little combo right there, to say the very least. And speaking of Headgear, we have 3 copies of Headgear, which upon its normal summon, it basically acts as a Foolish Burial, which is really nice. It's a great way to set up for Switch Hitter next turn. So you go normal summon Headgear, send Glassjaw to your grave. Next turn, normal summon the Switch Hitter, trigger its effect, resummon Glassjaw, combo off into any of your rank 4 plays that you may have at your disposal, and you can just go from there, which is pretty cool. I believe as well, I believe, yeah, I just realized I can actually do this. Let's switch that out. I completely forgot that I've got level 3s in this deck, and I can actually make a rank 3 with those cards. I'll get to that in a bit. I blanked. I apologize, guys. I blanked. But still, it's a nice it's a nice tech. Then of course we got Battlin Boxer Shadow. Only one copy. The thing about this is that this card, a lot of people might consider putting this at 3, but I consider putting this at 1 just because of the fact that you already have several Cyber Dragon like effect, like monsters, such as the Spar, such as the Veil, and also the Fire Flint Lady, and even also this other one that I'll talk about in a second, which basically acts as a, this one that I'll talk about in a second acts as a Cyber Dragon, but or I guess more of a Monster Reborn, I guess, but still, you've got quite a few Cyber Dragon like monsters, and you don't need any more. So Battlin Boxer Shadow is a cool one because you can basically just detach a material off of any Battlin Boxer Xyz monster you have, and special summon this card from your hand, which is really nice. But for the most part, given the fact that it's an 1800 body, you're gonna just normal summon it and just go from there, which is pretty cool. Then, excuse me. Then of course we got the one Battlin Boxer Veil. This is basically your golden apples for the whole deck. So if you guys have never seen Veil before, basically if you take damage, you can summon this card from your hand and gain the life points equal to the damage that you took. So if you took, like, let's say 3,000 damage, you can special summon Veil in defense and gain 3,000 life points, which is pretty cool. Then of course we got Battlin Boxer Counterpunch. This is basically your honest for the whole deck. So the effect of Counterpunch reads: during the damage step of either player's turn, when a Battlin Boxer monster you control is attacking or being attacked, you can banish this card from your hand or grave. That monster gains 1,000 attack until the end of the turn. Excuse me, and you can only use each effect once per turn. The thing is that this is, I know I said honest, but this is basically your Kalut for the whole deck. And you can only use it once, but if you don't want to use it, you can go this plus another 3-star and go into a rank 3, which I'll get to it in a bit, which is gonna be very, very interesting to say the very least. And speaking of the new card, we have Yukai Narin no Kitsunebi Yurara, which I believe, which I believe if I can do this, give me a second, guys. Okay, something's seriously wrong here. Come on. Sorry guys, my laptop is being weird. Okay, now we can go to this. So in Japanese, it's actually Japanese for Happy Forest Foxfire Yorara. So I'm actually gonna call it that. So Happy Foxfire is actually a pretty cool card, because if you guys have never seen this card before or never watched that video, because I talked about that video, talked about this card not that not that long ago actually. It's a 3-star fire warrior with 200 attack, 1900 defense, and it says all face-up monsters on the field become fire. If this card is in your grave and your opponent has a fire monster on the field or in their grave, you can special summon this. You can special summon this card. You can only use this effect once per turn. This card is actually pretty cool because if you have because what's cool about this is that this is actually a great way to use the Foxfire and the Counter Punch to go into a rank 3, which is known as Battlin Boxer Cheat Commissioner, which I'll explain what it does later on once we get into the extra deck. But still, not only that, you can also use it to go into cards such as Heat of the Fire Charmer Ablaze, Ferocious Flame Swordsman, or Doolittle Chimera, which Doolittle in this deck is fucking nuts. So it's a nice little tech, to say the very least. And then to round up the monsters, we have 2 copies of Firefly Lady as a way to special summon more bodies on board to go into more of your rank 4 plays or whatever you may have at your disposal. For these spells, we've got 2 copies of Battlin Boxing Spirits, which is basically the Monster Reborn for the whole deck. So with this card, you get to you have to mill the top card of your deck, and special summon a Battlin Boxer from your graveyard in defense position. Which again, as I said before, if you open with this headgeared and let's say Spar, you would go normal summon the Battlin Boxer headgeared, trigger its effect, special summon send Glass Jaw to your grave, special summon Spar, especially if you're going first, activate Battlin Boxing Spirits, mill I'll say a Valkyrian Knight, let's just say, special summon Glassjaw, overlay them into Battlin Boxer Star Cestus, and then wait until next turn, have your opponent set up their board, and then you go rank up Magic Numeron Force and just clear their board entirely for game, which is pretty fucking crazy. So it's a nice way to put more bodies on the board, especially if you know you're going, especially if you know you're going first. But if you're going second and you do summon Spar, it's a bit of a downfall. It's a bit of a downfall, but it's a nice way to get board presence over your opponent, which is pretty cool. Speaking of Numeron Force, we have 3 copies of Rank Up Magic Numeron Force. This is basically Dark Ruler no more. So because I've got the Silent Honor Arc, the Ragnar Zero, and the Battlin Boxer Star Cestus, I can use the Numeron Force to go into Silent Honor Dark, Ragnarfinity, and Battlin Boxer Comet Cestus, and Numeron Force basically just becomes a Dark Ruler no more, which negates literally every single card effect that's face up on the board, except for either Silent Honor Dark, Ragnarfinity, or Comet Cestus, which is pretty insane. Then of course, and then for the one-ofs, we've got the Harpies, the Harpies, Feather Duster, and the Callby, because apparently Callby is still at 1. Why couldn't they have just brought it back up to 2? Like, bring it up to 2, I would have been okay with it, but keep it at 1. Really, Konami? Really? What the fuck? Then, of course, we got 3 copies of Xyz Import, which is probably one of the most broken cards in this deck, because of the fact that you can go, especially if you're going second, and your opponent only has like one card, like one monster on board. You can go. Let's say for example, your hand was Headgear, Spar, Numeron Force, Spirits, and Xyz Import, and you top decked I'll say Harpy's Feather Duster. You would go activate Harpy's Feather Duster, wipe out the opponent's back row, normal summon Headgear, send Glass Jaw to your grave, special summon Spar to your board, activate Battlin Box and Spirits, mill. Let's say I'll say the Fire Flint Lady, resummon Glassjaw, overlay Headgear and Spar into a Silent Honor Dark. Activate Numeron Force, go into the Silent Honor Dark, trigger Dark's effect to suck up your opponent's special summon monster, and if they were to have a second one, you can activate Xyz's Import, target Silent Honor Dark and the other monster, and attach it to Dark as its material. And if you were to go into your battle phase, it would give you access to summon Zeus, which gives you quite a few board wipes, which is pretty cool. So Xyz's Import is a great way to give your Xyz monsters even more overlay units to trigger off its effect, which is pretty nice. Then of course we've got the one Living Fossil, not the best card, but it's a great way to ensure that you can go into your Xyz plays. And the craziest part is that obviously it says when this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. Best part, you bypass it by using the monster as Xyz material, which is pretty cool. And then to round up the spells, this is probably going to be the dumbest idea that I ever made, but you guys will have an understanding of why. So I am on a small Infernal Arms equip package. So I've got two copies of Durandal and two copies of Joyous. Durandel's effect reads, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add a level 5 or lower Fire Warrior from your deck to your hand, then destroy this card. If this card is sent to the grave because the equipped monster is sent to the grave, you can target a level 5 or lower Fire Warrior in your grave, special summon it, and you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except for warriors. You can only use this card. You can only use each effect once per turn, and only once that turn. So what's cool? So and Joyous effect reads while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target a Fire Warrior in your grave, add it to your hand, then destroy this card. And it basically has the exact same effect where instead of summoning from the graveyard, you can summon from your hand. So these two cards basically work. They're basically like polar opposites of one another. Durandal acts as a Rhoda slash monster reborn. Joyous basically acts as a monster reincarnation cyber dragon, where with Durandal you can Rhoda out any of your fire warriors, and then monster reborn any fire warrior from your graveyard. While Joyous is where with Joyous you can reincarnation any of your fire warriors and cyber dragon any of them to your board, which is pretty cool. Then moving on into the traps to round up the main deck, we have two copies of Zing Zang Hu as a way to stop your opponent from using their back row, especially if they set 2. You can go end phase, activate Zing Zang Hu, target the back row, boom, floodgate. You have yourself a floodgate. And then we have two copies of Solemn Warning to round up the main deck. For the extra deck, I'm going to go backwards from Link to Xyz because, well, Zeus is obviously in here. So for the links, we got the one Doolittle Chimera, the Ferocious Flame Swordsman, and of course the Hita the Fire Charmer Ablaze. This is actually kind of funny because with Hita, because with because funny enough, with Hita, especially if you're up if you're up against a mirror, up against another fire-based deck, you can just resummon. You can special summon one of your opponent's fire monsters, and you can use it, especially if it's a 4-star, plus any of your other 4-star monsters go into a rank 4, and you can just combo off from there, which is pretty cool. And it also acts as a rota where it says if this Link Summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, you can add a fire monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So the cards that have less than 1500 defense, you've got cards such as the Valkyrie Knight, Glassjaw, Switch Hitter, Spar, Battlin Boxer Shadow, Counter Punch, and even also the Fire Flint Lady as well. The only ones that you can't search off of that you can't search off of Hita are the Veil, the Firefox, and of course the headgear. Those are the only ones you cannot search off of Hita. But it's still a great way to gain more board presence over your opponent and just fill your board up with a couple of disruptions, if you will, which is really nice. The Ferocious Flame Swordsman basically does the same as Hita, but instead, this is basically a monster, not monster born, sort of a kind of like a living fossil, where if it leaves the field, you have to banish it, and so you would have to literally use that monster as a seized material to get off Swordsman's full effect, if you will. And then Dualism Chimera is actually kind of hilarious because if you're going up against like any water-based deck, whether it was legendary swordsman, legendary fisherman, sharks, or whatever, this deck will benefit from it because the effect of Chimera reads all fire monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense, and all water monsters on the field lose 400 attack and defense. If this card is destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can target a fire monster in your grave, add it to your hand. So it's a great way to it's a great way to bait your opponent to activate their destruction what is it called? Their destruction cards, where you can then just combo off from there and attack for game, which is really nice. For the Xyz monsters, we have obviously the card that I mentioned, Battlin Boxer Cheat Commissioner. This card requires 2 level 3 monsters. Excuse me. But what's cool about this is that the effect reads all monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. And while you control another Battlin Boxer monster, your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. When an attack is declared involving another Battlin Boxer you control, you can detach 2 materials from this card, look at your opponent's hand, and set a spell from their hand to your side of the field. What's cool about this is that there are a variety of spells that you can set. You can even set call by, because if you were to have one call by on set, you can set another one, and you basically just bypass all. You would basically just bypass the fucking ban list, and you basically run 2 copies of call by, which is hilarious. So it's a great way to ensure that you're able to stop your opponent from using hand traps, such as Ash Blossom, Nibiru, Drone Lockbird, whatever they may have at their disposal, which is really cool. We then have 2 copies of Battlin Boxer Lead Yoke. This card is absolutely nasty. So it requires 2 level 4 Battlin Boxer monsters, and the effect reads: if a Battlin Boxer monster or monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material from this card instead of destroying one of those monsters. When an Exceeds monster is detached from this card gains 800 attack. So if you were to activate, let's say Exceeds Import, and you were able to attach one of your opponent's monsters to lead Yoke as a material, you would basically be able to have 3 detaches, and that's what 8, 6, and 24. 24 plus 22. That's what 46. That's 4,600 attack. Lead Yoke is going to potentially have. It can even go up to 5,000 attack, even higher, or higher than that, which is pretty nuts. Then, of course, we got the number 79, Battlin Boxer Nova Kaiser. This card is pretty cool because this is basically Time Thief Redoer on a rank 4 on a rank 4 fire body. And what's cool about this is that this card is a bit better than Time Thief Redoer, because this card gains 100 attack for each material that's attached to it, and the more materials you have on Kaiser, the more board wipes you'll have for Zeus. And it's the same thing with the Silent Honor Dark. If you have a good amount of materials, Zeus is gonna just blow away your opponent's board, and there will be there'll be nothing that they can do, which is pretty crazy. And also too, it also has an effect where it reads: when this card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card by battle or card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can target level 4 or lower Battlin Boxer monsters in your grave equal to the number of materials this card had on the field and special summon those targets. So basically, you can summon up to 5 Battlin Boxers, and that would give you basically two Exceed summons, which could be a Nova Kaiser and a Star Cestus, or Star Cestus and a Silent Honor Arc. The possibilities are just endless, which is pretty cool. Then, of course, as I mentioned, we got the Silent Honor Arc, Ragna Zero, and Ragna Infinity. If you were to activate Numeron Force, you can go into Silent Honor Dark, Ragna Zero, into Ragna Infinity, and then Star Cestus into Comet Cestus. Dark's effect basically is basically Exceeds Import, where you can just take one of your opponent's monsters, attach it to Dark as material. It's just absolutely insane. Ragna Infinity has an effect where you can target one face-up monster that your opponent has, banish it, and also inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference between that monster's original and current attack. So the amount of attack it could have is pretty much out there, which is pretty cool. But if it has but what's even more cool is that she basically acts the same as Silent Honor Dark, where if she were to be sent to the graveyard while it had Ragna Zero as the material, you can automatically special summon her from your graveyard, and you basically just have a 2800 body on board, and you can keep doing that over and over again because it had Ragna Zero as the material, which is really cool. And then Comet Cestus. Comet Cestus is a bit of an odd one, but what's cool about this is that the effect reads: when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the destroyed monster's original attack. So you're basically dealing even more damage to your opponent, which will give you game on board, which is absolutely nuts. And also, if it has Star Cestus as the material, it gains the effect where it reads: once per turn, you can detach a material from this card, target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to destroy a monster's attack on the field. So you're basically just dealing triple damage to your opponent, which forces your opponent to activate cards such as Goes in Match, Rivalry Warlords, pretty much any floodgate that they may have at their disposal. But if you were to side deck into cards such as the Cosmic Cyclone, or any form of like back row removal, you can basically activate that back row removal, and their back row is gone, which is absolutely insanity. And then of course again Zeus, because Zeus is a board wipe. Moving on into the side deck, the side deck is a bit of a wonky one, but it's actually pretty insane. So we've got 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Ogre, 2 Ghost Spell, and then a new addition to the deck. I didn't realize it, but I guess I kind of needed to add this card into the deck. It is known as a Barrier Statue of the Inferno. I'm running 2 copies of it. This is basically a floodgate. So just like the Harpy deck and the Flow and the Reese decks had a Barrier Statue of the Stormwind, this card is basically that, but for fires. So neither player can special summon monsters except for fire. So because that your whole main deck is fire, you're pretty much good. You're pretty much golden. You are golden. The only thing though is that the only monsters in the extract that are not fire are the Ragnar Zero, Ragnar Infinity line, the Silent Honor Silent Honor Dark line, and then of course the Zeus. Everything else is fire, so it's a bit unfortunate, but still it's pretty cool. Then of course we got Monster Reborn, because it's Monster Reborn, and then we have a very odd card, but you guys are wondering why this card. It is known as Xyz's Gift. This comes as a 3-for-2, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's still a great way to ensure that you can draw into cards, you know, such as the Firefox, the Xyz Import, or whatever you may want to draw out at your disposal. So the effect of this card reads: if you control 2 or more face-up Xyz monsters, detach 2 materials from a monster you control, draw 2 cards. So it does come as a 3-for-2. But what's cool about this is that if you were to top deck, let's say the Feather Duster and I'll say the Numeron Force. Guess what? Activate the Numeron Force. Turn Silent Honor Arc into Silent Honor Dark. Activate Harpy's Feather Duster. Wipe the back row clean, and you can just combo off from there, which is really nice. Then speaking of back row removal, we have 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone and 2 copies of Solemn Strike to round out the whole deck itself. So all in all, guys, this has actually a much more better version of this deck than the last build. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you get if you guys did enjoy it and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on all of my social media, including my Instagram, because you guys know I always post the deck list on my Instagram about an hour or 2 after this video gets put up. Links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.